for inviting me to speak today. Contrary to the media descriptions of politically active women as a new phenomenon starting during the Arab Spring, women's political participation in Bahrain actually dates back to the 1950s, when they participated in demonstrations against the British and supported male-led demands for reform. The movement was further politicized in the 1960s and 70s due to the influence of Arab nationalism, anti-colonial movements, and an increase of access to university education. Women had organized in charitable societies since the 1950s, but from the 70s and onwards, societies with political aspirations were established and women's participation in politics increased. However, because of the restrictive legislations regarding association, it is very difficult to establish and operate grassroots women's organizations. All organizations have to be registered by the Ministry of Social Development according to the law of associations, which also stipulates several reasons as to why an association can be dissolved. For example, if it violates the law, the public order, or norms. One example of a depoliticized initiative is the Supreme Council of Women, established in 2011 by the King and headed by the King's wife. It has effectively monopolized the discourse on women's rights and remains an exclusive space for women who support the politics of the undemocratic state. An escalation of the systematic abuse of women was recorded after the protest of February 2011. Between 2011 and 2014, 302 Bahraini women were arrested, and among them were 3 girls under the age of 18. More than 14 women were killed by various means of violence, by live ammunition, or by toxic gases and suffocation. Some women have lost their fetuses due to the inhalation of poisonous gases used by anti-riot forces, and dozens have been threatened of rape. During house raids, Basuni wrote in the BICI report that women are asked to stand up in their pajamas and they were not allowed to cover their bodies, which caused them embarrassment and humiliation according to their religious belief. I will present 5 cases of women who are actively political. This is Dr. Rula Al-Safar. She's the president of Bahrain Nursing Society and assistant professor at the College of Health Science. During the uprising, she worked in a medical tent treating wounded protesters. 6 weeks afterwards, she was called in for questioning. She was blindfolded and pushed into a jail cell where she was interrogated and beaten and shocked with stun guns. Guards chopped off her hair and threatened to rape her. She continues to advocate for international recognition of the concept of medical neutrality, which is the principle of non-interference with medical services in times of conflict. She said, "As a healthcare professional, it was my duty to aid the injured, but as a witness to the Bahraini security forces' violent response to the peaceful protests, I also felt a duty to speak out against the abuses." This is Ayat El-Khurmsi. She's a poet and student. In the aftermath of the Bahraini uprising, she was arrested and imprisoned for having recited a pro-freedom poem on Pearl Square. The poem criticizes the government and demands for the king to grant equal rights. After her recital, she was expelled from the university and charged with accusations of insulting the king and incitement to hatred against the ruling regime. After being beaten across the face, she had been lashed with electric cables, kept in a near freezing cell, and forced to clean police lavatories with her hands. She was released after being forced to sign false confessions in June 2011. And this is Farida Ghulam, who's also in the room. She's a member of the board of National Democratic Action Society, WAD. She's active within the women's movement and plays an important role in the political affairs in Bahrain. She is also the wife of liberal secular left opposition figure Ibrahim Sharif, whose 5 years prison sentence in a military court has been upheld twice on appeal. This is Zainab Al-Khawaja. She has previously been sentenced to prison after trying to visit her father, Abdul Hadi al-Khawaja, in Jaw prison for ripping a picture of the king and for allegedly assaulting a police officer. On Monday, the 14th of March, 2 days ago, she was arrested in a house raid along with her 15-month-old baby, Abdul Hadi. According to her family, police broke into her in-law's house around noon asking for her. They were carrying cameras and videotaping the event. When they could not find her, they came into her apartment where she was with her husband and 2 children and took her and her baby to the police station, and she's currently in prison. This is Jalila Al-Salman. She's a Bahraini teacher and vice president of the Bahraini Teachers Association. She was actively working towards reform of the Bahraini education system, and as a result, she faced numerous threats and was passed over for promotion. Due to her activities in the uprising, she was sentenced for 149 days. She was tortured and sentenced to 3 years in prison. She said, "They pulled me from my neck, weapons pointed at my head, and asked me not to be afraid because they were police." She reported being verbally and physically abused by security forces who arrested her. "They hit me and called me horrible names." Shortly after her speech on human rights violations in Washington, the government of Bahrain sent Al-Salman a letter informing her that she had been fired, citing the civil society law, which states that an employee may be fired for an offense involving immorality or dishonesty. There are some laws that are relevant in this case, but I won't go through all of it. So in conclusion, women in Bahrain face a number of obstacles in regards to the right of freedom of expression. These obstacles can relate to societal norms about gender roles, but also the government's general attitude towards political association and dissent. Despite the government's breaches of international law, the dangerous environment Bahraini operate in, and the high risk many have to face, Bahraini women continue to bravely use their limited spaces to voice their opinions. Thank you.